Crouch. Bind. Set.
Joe presents the House of Rugby, together with Guinness.
Well, in the biggest week for English rugby in 16 years, we are doing our bit at the Senso-ji Temple, the oldest Buddhist temple in Tokyo. This was actually built in 645 AD, and we've popped a couple of yen in the praying pot. Every little helps in a week.
It's not going to harm, is it?
It's not going to harm. The rain has set in, as you can see, and we're on our way to Peter O'Cole's, the newly rebranded Peter O'Cole's bar for tonight's live show. Hask, interestingly, is on very important business this afternoon, and we're going to get into him on that a little bit later on. But what else would you like to talk about on the show this week?
Well, I think we've got to start off with one of the best England performances ever. I think. It's definitely within a World Cup. Never been better, and I would argue one of the most comprehensive performances that England's ever produced.
Should we talk a little bit about 03 as well? I'd love to know from you how fresh those memories are and what this week was like.
Yeah, I mean, people have already started asking what's it like in a World Cup week, and we can go through that, the emotions you go through, and bits and pieces like that. Well, I'm sure we'll spoon out some pearls of wisdom within
Go for it. And do you want to talk about the other semi-finals?
Yeah,
Should we just draw a line through that one?
No, I think we need to talk about one of the worst semi-finals in Rugby World Cup history as well.
Wasn't pretty, was it?
No, I mean, when both teams nearly kick as much as they pass. Obviously, it would have been better to have a Northern Hemisphere final because we would have guaranteed a Northern Hemisphere victory.
You can't let it go.
But I think it'd be a travesty if one of those teams, if now South Africa wins, the rugby that they play.
Yeah. As we said, it's raining, it's pouring. What else do you want to do on an afternoon like this than head to the pub for a couple of hours? To Peter O'Cole's it is. We're going to find a rickshaw with an outboard motor. See you in a moment. Come on, Tids. Huge cheer for everyone who's come to see our third live podcast. This is amazing. Welcome to the House of Rugby, brought to you by Joe, together with our very good friends at Guinness. We've come quite a long way, haven't we, since show one?
We've done very well.
Have we not been here 3 months?
Honestly, it could have been a year. I genuinely have
it.
lost all semblance of time and what former life was like. Which is possibly a good thing, possibly not. You're all very welcome this evening at Peter O'Cole's Irish Bar here in Shibuya, aptly renamed. We've actually, we're going to be here for another week. We're all going home on Monday, hopefully after a glorious World Cup fight. Should we have a quick straw poll? Hands up or give us a cheer if you are South African. Who the hell let them in? Murray! Where's security? Let's have a cheer if you're here for England tonight! Let's have another cheer if you're here for England tonight! That's better. Quiet in the cheap seats, thank you. That'll do. You are all very, very welcome tonight. We've had a lot of fun over the last 2.5 weeks, and actually the last few shows have been quite boisterous, haven't they? But actually tonight, genuinely, given where we are and given what's to come, it'd be actually quite nice to talk about a bit of ruggers. Are you happy to? You're always happy to do that. Can you manage to rein it in a little bit? We'll actually talk a little bit about what's to come, what's been.
Of course I can. I mean, one thing I want to point out again, every show we obviously started with a small number. We've built up. A lot of sort of lonely men normally fill our podcast crowd. But this evening, there are a large number of women again, so we are growing.
Here's the girls!
Great to see. There's still the virgins wearing rugby shirts.
Mainly South Africans.
Yeah. Lots of South Africans, team uniform. None of them are smiling. There's a stereotype.
You're
very welcome.
At what point?
And they are in pint throwing distance.
What I want to know is at what point you get ready in your hotel room or wherever you're, your hostel, your camper van, wherever you might be, you put your rugby shirt on and go, I'm ready to roll. Because I don't understand that, But anyway, listen, it's great. It's great to see you out here.
Yeah.
And they're all a group of single men. They're always the people in the kit with no women around them, so it's fine.
There's a question there, because someone asked me today, is will you be wearing an England jersey on Saturday? I was like, no.
Why?
I don't.
Been there, done it, got the T-shirt.
It might seem a little bit weird.
Yeah.
That is the one downfall.
Well, Zoe's here tonight. Zoe, did you bring up my World Cup 2003?
Can we have a cheer for Zoe, ladies and gentlemen?
So,
Did you just say, Zoe, did you pack my shirt?
Yeah.
Well, no, because
Things have changed in this relationship.
I forgot to bring my Welsh shirt because I had said that if Wales got to the final and won it, I would quite happily go out to have a few social beverages wearing my Wales shirt. Obviously, it would have been the one that we beat them in the quarterfinals in 2003. Obviously.
Yeah, very nice.
I need to get a little bit of knife my own way in, but I didn't bring an England jersey. But I've packed my Welsh one away.
Well done,
That is one of the
Put it
weirdest
in
things,
there.
though, as a young player or as a professional. The most exciting part of anything before playing is getting your kit. Like, do you remember when you were younger, like you couldn't wait to get your kit, couldn't wait to get your stash.
Yeah.
And then you suddenly dawn on you that it's the most uncool thing ever to wear your own kit while you're playing.
Don't say that because every amateur rugby player still loves free stash.
Yeah, of course. I'm all about sharing the stash, but someone did offer me, oh, listen, we're doing this nice line of England themed kit. Would you like to wear it? I was like, absolutely not. But thanks for letting me know.
Zoe's here. I've actually worked out that Zara and Chloe is where we've got to Zoe. But we've also got Chloe here tonight as well, ladies and gentlemen. Cheer for Mrs. Haskell. Cheer for Mrs. Tindall. We've got the brother-in-law here as well. Good evening, Pete. Lovely to have you. It's a very VIP front row. And remarkably, given your disdain for all things Irish rugby, could we have a very warm welcome, please, for the former Irish T-Sock, Enda Kenny, who's with us this evening as well. Good evening to you, sir.
And don't worry, he accepts all free drinks.
He accepts all free drinks. Sponsored by It's lovely to have you here tonight.
He's
Absolutely incredible.
He's actually a deputation from the Irish government to bollock Tindall.
Is that right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You've got a bit of work to do on that.
They've been claiming deportation rights in Japan to get him sent back to Ireland to get filled in.
Good. Just before we get into the rugby bit itself, how's the last week or so been?
Why do you look at him as well?
I don't know.
It's been interesting. You can get
So
lost in Tokyo for a few days. It's amazing. You just walk out of one karaoke bar into another one.
Yeah.
It always sounds worse when you think it sounds better. Yeah. So you start at the start and I go, I don't really sound that good, but you sound way better than where you are 4 hours' time.
How would you rate your karaoke skills in Japan 2019?
Not that great.
No.
I thought I was good. It's not that good.
Enthusiastic.
Unless it's Boom
limited,
Shake Shake the Room, which everyone's heard. So.
Yeah, we've done that before. What's been the highlight for you? Well, we'll come on to today in a moment, but what's been the highlight for you over the last few days since our last pod?
Very different from your experience with your mate, Framboise Waddle Dudley.
It's gone, sadly. Framboise and Tom have headed
emotional
home on the private jet. Yeah, it was. It's very sad.
An entire luggage of 30 kilos full of tweed gilets.
Yeah,
that must be
stuff.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Plus fours, Hunter Wellington boots, other brands are available.
Can we tell some stories about him?
No.
The fact that he has a bridge named after him.
No, we can't. Let's keep let's keep moving. That's a very different show and another.
We can make him legendary even further.
I went to public school and I suddenly felt like I'd been living on the street when I came around with you and your friends. There were words that he was saying and how he was saying it I didn't understand. It was like he was trying to swallow a bull cock.
Yeah, very good.
Very lovely. More sake. What?
Might well have done that a couple of times at school.
I tell you what, I went to the fish market.
Good.
That's about as exciting as it got for me, but that was incredible.
Yeah.
To kind of experience that.
You were a bit poorly though, aren't you?
I have. I've had the flu. But I sort of turned up slightly under the weather. But what's interesting is that I've always tried to bond with Mike, but he hasn't always given me the time of day. So when we first came here, we spent a lot of time together, and he was a bit of a bad influence. And what went from a normal cold turned into full-blown influenza. Exactly. I've also been fighting a few fires as well.
Go on.
I've talked about it before. In 2019, everybody's default position for most people is I'm offended, change my mind.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, I'm already offended, everyone wants to go mad. So I did a video on that. We talked about the hacker, about my interpretation of it, and there's a few YouTube comments on it when John Schmidt, who was unbelievable, by the way, what a lovely guy, was apparently looking very, very angry at what I was describing hacker as. And I was talking about from a player's perspective that it wasn't intimidating whatsoever. It was massively inspiring. And I think that was kind of proven by the smirk on Owen Farrell's face and by the boys doing what they were doing on the weekend. And that culturally, obviously, it's incredible. And I wasn't talking about its meaning and its importance. I was saying it's a challenge. It's you getting offered out. They offer you out everywhere. But it shouldn't be intimidating. It makes you want to fire into them. I had to deal with a few ex-Kiwi players. I got called a bigot and a racist, which I thought was like quite an in around my house. But I didn't realise that I had to kind of defend that, which was a bit weird. But I kind of felt like I was a bit proven right, really. From the weekend.
It's been weird because obviously since England did that, I spoke to a couple of people about it. I spoke to Ali Williams, who thought what they did was brilliant because the idea of that if you go back and re-watch the hacker, so they're in a narrow formation it's tending to face up to a line of people.
Yeah.
So they can make eye contact. But with the points so wide, it's very hard to make physical eye contact with someone who you want to stare down and actually deliver it to. So if you watch, there's one guy at the front who's literally...
There's Reed. It's Kieran Reed. He's going from side to side.
And they had no focus point. And Ali said it was actually brilliant, and he didn't mind it as a Kiwi. He said it was brilliant because it makes it very hard for you then to deliver your challenge, because you don't really have... You're trying to find someone to make focus with, and you can't. If the nearest one who's directly in your eye line is right at the back, 20 yards away, it's very hard. And then I spoke to Richard McCaw, and he goes, well, actually, everyone talks about taking the energy away from the haka once it's finished. He goes, we want that more than the next guy, because we get so pumped up when we're doing it. We want you to take as much time as we can so we can recollect ourselves before we then have to go to work. He said teams used to then fire into us and we'd be going mad and trying to whack people. So we had to come up with ways of then trying to calm ourselves down. So basically, we definitely overthink it is the answer to that. Yeah.
I said the Morris dancing was a great option.
Yeah.
Or a dance-off.
Yeah.
The problem is, though, and this is something else we actually had. We had a lovely meal out the other day, and obviously it was an amazing game, and what England did was brilliant. And I think the reason it was so good and reason everyone got so excited was because we had played the world's best. There was no doubt that, for me, always New Zealand have been the best team in the world. They're incredible what they do. And we were in a bar, actually, and obviously what had happened is most Kiwis had probably bought their tickets for the final, had been super keen to go out for a celebratory dinner. So we were in a restaurant, there was like 6 England fans and an entire room of Kiwis, and they did not travel very well. They were not in a chipper mood. They had a long table of 20 people, and it was like this. And so anyway, some people started singing. Obviously started singing "God Save the Queen" or whatever they were doing, or "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot." Yeah. And the Kiwis were actually quite good. And there was a couple of noises, and one of them was wearing socks and sandals, which I put on my Instagram. So, he's immediately and he was in full stash. You got to immediately discount anything that he was saying. But they were getting a bit carried away, like they're ramming it down the Kiwis' throat. And I think what's really important for us always is to be respectful. Remember that the reason we are so excited about beating them is because they were the world's best and or are the world's best at what they do, and that. I would love us to have a full dance-off with them.
You're on foot.
I would. Because the problem is, though, I'd love if, Kyle Sinclair started spinning on his back, Owen Farrell starts doing the robot or whatever.
Has he got that in his locker?
I don't know. Sinclair's got all sorts of things in his locker. It's not any of you want to see.
Has got the robot?
Has got the robot. Do you think fucking Owen Farrell's got the robot in his thing?
I don't know. I mean, he's a man of mystery.
Yeah.
I would love it if he did.
But my point was that I'd love them to do that. The only problem is that if you overthink it, you do something stupid and then you get absolutely filled in, which happens to 99% of the people who play against them, then you've kind of done it. But this actually worked quite nicely, that the one time we played them when it counted, we did this thing or whatever, and it kind of paid off. But the dance-off could go horribly wrong.
We're going to get into the rugby in a bit more detail in just a moment or two. 3 quick things, first of all. Talking of clearing up your mess on social media, Ronnie Regan
goodness.
last week.
Oh,
Can we
dear.
just reiterate,
Ronnie, it's a joke, pal.
This is
delivered in love. It's delivered with love.
I've got to tell you what I've had from Ronnie. Oh my God! Right, so I am I'm like Marmite, right? So you either love me or you hate me. I am the brunt of 99% of people's jokes. People, there's a long queue of people who hate me versus people who like me. So I'm happy to weather that.
True,
it is true. Yeah, it's true. It's fine.
Do we love him?
That's very kind of you.
That's what we're here for.
That's all I want. That's all he wants.
That's all I needed.
Just giving him what he wants.
The best thing is okay, don't get too excited, right? So Ronnie, obviously, we told a few stories about that, and everybody on this show, we always talk about different stories. And Ronnie tweeted you. Yeah. And actually said, looking forward to seeing. I mean, I don't know why he thought you was the weak link. Like,
I get on quite well with Ronnie.
Threatening as a tea leaf.
Why do you think he gets on with me then?
What do we call him? What was his nickname we came up with?
Hang on, this is the man that's been the undercover demise of the trio.
No, that's not true. That is not true.
You stay out as long as healthily as I do.
I'm goggles down, hatchback driving gloves in your sidecar, motoring along in the fast lane.
But Ronnie's come out and he's gone, looking forward to seeing you, Alex. Not looking forward to seeing Haskell. And what he wanted to write was loudmouth bollocks, right? But because he's simple, like we said, he wrote hashtag loadmouth bollocks.
Which is a very different type of viewing pleasure.
Very niche thing.
But equally apt for you, Haskell.
Yeah, but what I will say is that I wasn't going to go any further into him. But now I don't give a shit, Ronnie, because you fucking made it personal.
And his daughter came after
His daughter came after me as well, but I want you to know.
Can we just make the peace?
No, I will do, but I'm going to tell one story because...
I love you, Ron. I think you're a superstar.
So there was a great bit when we were talking today about when Ben Spencer got the call up from Eddie Jones. Yeah. Imagine he was sitting at home, feeding his kids. Phone call, hello mate. It's an Australian accent. He goes, hello mate. It's Eddie Jones here. You're going to play in the World Cup final. It is sort of Australia, yeah. Somewhere via China and somewhere else. Oh, you have to be very careful because one false move and you're Jim Davidson and suddenly you're on the Ofcom having a word. All right, it's 2019. Everyone's offended. You know what I mean? So he goes, mate, it's Eddie Jones here. I want you to come over to Japan. We need you. You're going to be playing in the final. Blah, blah, blah. Ben's like, I said to him, did you just go fuck off and put the phone down? Because nobody would have believed that happened. But what happened is in 2007 World Cup, Danny Hipkiss used to be able to do an incredible impression of John Wells. So
better than yours?
Way better than mine. He got me.
Wow.
So the problem was I got a phone call was like, hello James, John Wells here. Lawrence Delalio, he's a bit 50-50. He could be going down. Do you want to come to the World Cup? I've been watching a game, and I was like, well, actually, John, I have actually been playing quite well. I score a couple of tries. Like, yeah, I've seen them. You're doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing. If Lawrence goes down, we're gonna put you in there, right? So I then halfway through thought this is bullshit, and I said, listen, I've got to go. But then I sat there for about an hour going, oh my God, did I offend John Wells or whatever? So what happened is, fast forward that we were. Sitting in camp, and what Danny Hipkiss decided to do was call up Ronnie and say to Ronnie, and he was like, right, Ronnie, half the front row have gone down with hay fever, right? Half the team have gone down with hay fever. It's a deadly infection, right? We need you to come in. And Ronnie was like, right, Babber, no, to be honest with you, I don't think they've been playing that well. Right? I can do you a favour. You've tried the rest. You're gonna come back to the best, right? And the lads are like this, like people going wild, like falling off chairs, people going mad. And it's like, right, well, okay, Ronnie, I take the point. You are the best hooker we've ever had. Could you be down on training on Tuesday? And Ronnie's like, don't worry, Babber, I'll be there. Pack my bags, don't worry, right? Got in his Vauxhall Corsa or his Bentley, I'm joking.
Oh, Jesus.
Right? And he's packing his bags to whiz down, and unfortunately Graham Roundtree found out about it. Because we were going to let him turn up all the way to Penny Hill. Now, well, listen, if you're going to follow a joke through, you've got to follow it through. And just as on the morning when he was about to leave, Graham Roundtree heard all about it and was like, you can't do that, and called him up and said that. But he'd already knifed all the lads. The fact, I did think that Steve Thompson was probably looking a bit shit at the moment. So, if you want that accuracy of the scrum and the line out, I'll deliver that. So, John, don't worry about it. You can trust me. But they sacked him off, and luckily he never made it down. Cheers, Ron.
There we go. Can we have a cheer for Ronnie Regan, please? In the spirit of love. Yes, man.
We could start a feature every time he picks a fight. We'll do another story about Ronnie, because there
close down my thing. So I'm glad we've cleared that up and we've smoothed that one over. Well done for that.
There's a wrinkle that's turned into a crease.
Into a tear. Baseball. You can go first on that because you'd had about 20 minutes sleep and came down and slugged it out of the stadium. We went to a batting cage. MLB?
Actually, what do you mean baseball? What baseball?
Do you actually remember the baseball?
I sort of. I remember hitting it, and that's about it, which is more than Haskell did anyway.
Do you want to talk baseball?
Are you a natural athlete?
No, so in life when you work out, like in your mind, you think to yourself, oh, you got a bit of confidence. You're like, do you know what? I can turn my hands to most things, and then you abruptly realise you're absolutely crap at everything, anything involving hand-eye coordination. So we went down to the batting cage, and even in my mind, I thought, how hard can it be? The machine, it's not going to be throwing any curveballs. For the first 15 out of 20 balls I was given, I missed every single one of them. And like after the novelty of like missing it, thinking I'm going to correct my technique, and everybody laughing, sigh in hysterics, I actually came out with a little bit of depression from that. I know it's not laughing matter, but I honestly had to reassess myself and went, I am useless at 99% of things.
No. Do we love him?
Yeah.
Do we love him?
Wait, even that's diminished.
It
was like, fuck yeah! No,
not so much we do actually. It's like,
give it a rest. Ask your shit.
Just give him a sympathy one.
Exactly. We're turning this into a pantomime.
Yeah.
What I do want to talk to you about though is going back to Rico Black Rams.
Yes.
Because talk about love. We went back to Haskell's former club. How long ago were you here? 7 years.
8 years.
8 years ago.
8 years, yeah.
And you were welcomed back like a lost son.
It literally started off like that, didn't it?
What?
I don't know whether anyone will remember me. It's been
Do you think
8
he
years
prepped them
ago.
all, actually? There was like bunting, there was champagne, fire.
Literally, he's like, I don't even think people are going to talk to me. I don't think they'll know. And he literally walked around the corner and the first guy was like, and he's like, confidence, shoulders went back.
Yeah. And then he got into it.
And then literally there's people who are training on the pitch going, ah!
Be careful of the accents. Be careful of the accents.
And then,
honestly.
And then the translators came over, and he was literally like, boom, back in the room. He's like, hey, where's my bit? I shot the coach with my BB gun from over there. Did this there. Played a prank on that guy. Yeah. And it was like, Hask's back.
It was like a peacock, just with the feathers getting bigger and broader.
Literally.
Quite nice though, emotional.
It was, because obviously the weird thing was that Side said, oh, look, we want to go back to the Rico. And I was like, well, I haven't got anyone's number. I didn't know who to call. Like, say, hello, can we have permission? So we kind of chanced it, and I thought, there's no way they're going to be there. And we turned up, and it was midway through a pre-season session. Everybody was there.
That just shows that you didn't do any pre-season.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Fucking clue when pre-season was.
Right, let me explain something about Japanese rugby. They have a 6 months pre-season and 10 games. That's more than they've got in the actual season. I'm not doing that ever. I turned up 1 week before the season started, like any consummate professional would have done. And so basically, we turned up and they were all training. And actually, I was a little bit nervous because I had a couple of people from GoPro I was doing some stuff with, and I thought maybe I've lied to make friends here. Maybe when I walk in the door, they're going to not have any idea who I was. But we actually turned up and they were lovely, incredible facilities, wasn't it? Great training session. Everyone was really interested. But I did start recounting the story where it didn't go down that well at the time. I'm not sure it went down that well when I told it again, when we were a lot of the change rooms in Japan. Obviously, it's fantastic change room. Everyone spends all their time in there. But Japan in Tokyo is the home of BB guns, right? Being a sort of child that I am, I love BB guns. Who doesn't? And when I was there, I was the change room was a litter with these really expensive high-end BB guns, right? So I thought to myself, I was shooting some of the players. Obviously, they were sort of crying / laughing, or more crying, And I remember at the time we were all sitting around having a coffee, and there was a coach that had been a little bit annoying. Right? And he used to wear a pair of really tight waterproof leggings. Yeah. Right, really like skin tight, and they were sort of a bit flared at the bottom. So I got past Maranonu passed me this gas BB gun. So I had it in a barrel next to me, and this guy, as he walked up the stairs, and just as his foot went up and the trousers went super taut, I just literally shot him in the arse shot him in the arse, dropped the gun, carried on talking. Right? You know the mistake everyone makes when they hit you on the head or stitch you up. You look away, they wait, and then you look back, and they always know it's you. But I'm obviously smart, so I didn't do that. It's not my first rodeo. So I sat there talking to Mar, we're talking, but this Japanese coach, right? It was one of those really awkward moments where it should have been a shot. And it was like, who got me? But it was there for 10 minutes going, right, and it was like getting real awkward. I could hear him like whimpering, right, and then the best bit was he dragged his what looked like a dead leg over to the bathroom, put some wet damp tissue, and was dabbing his bare bum. It was like a mortified. There was a massive inquiry, and the other story they brought up as soon as I came, I was like, "How are you guys? Haven't seen you for a while." They went, "Oh yeah. Do you remember you punched that kid in training?" And
what?
I was like, "Yeah, well, good thing you remembered that. That's what I did." Because over here, when we talk about Japanese rugby, it's really physical, but there's a lot of kind of rules and stuff to it. Yeah. And obviously, in England training sessions or normal training sessions, sometimes it kicks off, it boils over, and you have a fight. They're quite normal. Yeah. But we don't have an HR department in rugby clubs, thank God, because we all would have been fired. But a lot of things get solved with the old, like I told the Jeff Parling story, where he just punched me straight in the face twice. I mean, the fact I didn't even move does not bode well, as we talked about, for my fighting career. But what happened is this Japanese, in the middle of a training session, this guy came at me and he squared up to me. So I just banged him. Right? I say chinned him, banged him's a bit odd. I would have bought him dinner if I was going to do that.
You really didn't mete out the punishment.
So like prison. No, and well, they will learn. You know what I mean? I want the top bunk. No. So anyway, so I hit the guy. I hit the guy right, and there was a major international incident. Yeah. Right, because I told you before here, if you mess up, and we were talking about on the England travel stuff we do, if you have a night out here, it's great. But if you get caught with the police here, right, it's like 25 days in prison as a player. The person who signed you for the team resigns, the head coach resigns, everybody resigns. It's like a massive scandal. So you don't want to cause any problem. I hit this guy, mate. It was like what? I mean, it's like I'd been arrested for doing something. There was a deputation came and spoke to me and were like, look, you can't do that. You get a red card in the game. I was like, it's training, like, relax. The guy squared up to me. The only thing he didn't do was throw the first punch. It's not my fault. He's got feather mitts.
There's a t-shirt,
feather mitts, SpongeBob foam hands. That was it. So the head coach had to go and have a meeting and everything else. That and apologise. That was kind of standard fare. So that was the first thing they remembered when I came back. I was like, that and the pubic hair management. I haven't left a lot of the imagination.
Amazing
over
scenes.
there.
As you can imagine, it's going to make an incredible feature, which is going to be on joe.co.uk later this week. As is the baseball. That one is well worth tuning in for if you are on social media. So go and have a look at those.
If you want to
later
feel
on.
good about yourself and the fact that an international rugby player
effort you put in as well.
Literally.
Sweating, wasn't it? I put my heart rate monitor. I burned 600 calories missing in baseball.
Let's talk England. Who'd like to talk England instead? How good was Saturday?
I can't say how good that was. I think it's the best, possibly the best England performance ever, maybe. Definitely in a World Cup. I think it's better than anything we did in 2003. We talked about them having the balls to go out and attack that New Zealand team, and after 20 minutes you're actually going, they should be way ahead here, and they weren't, but they would just dominate them in every area. Balance, variety of attacks, variety of kicks, just trust skill set. I don't think we made a mistake until Mako dropped the ball after about 20 minutes, but it was literally so good to watch. Such high tempo. New Zealand bought into it. I mean, they're not a bad team. They made more meters than we did as well, but they just got hemmed down, beaten up. Our back row just breakdown speed just allowed us all to play on the front foot, allowed Fordy to play on the front foot. Faz, Manu played well. The thing is, what you said is you want normally 2 or 3 of your big players to stand up. We talked about Billy, Mako, Manu, and
Marrow.
But then you put on who did stand up: Sinclair, Marrow, Watson, Underhill, Curry, Ford.
Everybody.
Literally, you don't normally get everyone play to that level on the same day, and when you do, you get a performance like that. It was incredible to watch. I've never been sort of an uber fan, and I'm always mainly more critical of England teams because of just history, and I just sat back and I was like, if they play like that, they fully deserve to absolutely smash this World Cup.
Did you know that was within them? Did they know that was within them?
Yeah, look, I know it's always going to talk about hindsight and everything else, but I genuinely did. We sat on this show, we did all that stuff together on some broadcast stuff outside of this, and everybody asked me who's going to win, and I said England, and my reaction was, yeah, really? I was like, yeah, but really? I was like, yes, they will, but nobody could believe it. Even you and I were talking before, and I said to you, this team's going to get to the final. Trust me. And I think everybody kind of talked about it but didn't necessarily believe it, or they paid lip service to it. Or fans were saying, I'm really nervous. Remember we did that England thing and the bloke went, right, so New Zealand are going to definitely score 3 tries. England will have to score 4 tries to win the World Cup. How are we going to do that? And I said to him, well, firstly, have you got a crystal ball? Because I don't understand where you're getting this insight from. Turned out it was a Daily Mail sports section, which it turned out from my column is absolute bullshit. But, no, I'm joking. It's lovely. I'm paid the columnist, so should have said the Guardian. Bollocks. The people have this preconception. You've got to remember that when it comes to rugby, anything can happen at the start of a game. You're kind of ordinarily your form going into it doesn't really matter. But I was blown away by what they did, and I just think it made you realise your own. Kind of your own level, and very humbling to go, do you know what, that was the best performance the England side has ever put in. For me, Tom Curry and Sam Underhill played to such a level that it was so good.
Amazing. That
you know it's good. Like, former All Blacks don't say anything about anything. When a former All Black comes up and goes, we lost the line out, we lost the scrum, we lost the rucks, we lost the tackle line, we lost the dominant collisions. We even lost the fucking hacker.
Yeah.
You know that there's nowhere to go. They literally got torn apart. And even when they did make line breaks, and they did, the work rate of the lads just to swarm them and just get them into touch and reset and restart. It was so impressive.
I want to talk about how you found watching it a little bit later on, but just in terms of that start and the haka and Manu's try and just the way England took everything away from New Zealand. I mean, when you are building a game plan and you're setting up, would any have actually said, right, how much of that will have been planned in terms of how England's first 5-10 minutes went?
So look, people said, how do you know after the first 20 minutes whether England have been a good place to win? Because it's kind of an all right indication at the start. If they were winning the game line, if they were stopping New Zealand, if they were getting off the floor quicker than New Zealand, if they were carrying with intent, if they were being defensively accurate, if their discipline was spot on, you knew what was going to happen. And I think we talked about it before that New Zealand play like New Zealand, and so many England teams and rugby teams around the world have tried to play like them and haven't been able to do that. And England went back under Eddie Jones to what he did best, which was brutal physicality, set piece, and scrum. But actually, that our England games evolved now to where they can play like New Zealand. They can play their own style and own brand. And I think that they 100% knew that. And the way they have trained, you see, this is the thing that people forget, is that what Eddie's put together and why they are in the place they are in is because he's trained them to a certain level. He's trained to that intensity. He has put, those game plans are what he wants to execute consistently, and that's how they want to play, and that's how they've trained. And it's very difficult sometimes. And when games haven't gone that well, or you've lost, and facing the media and saying what went wrong, you're like, well, hold on a minute. We trained like this. We just couldn't convert it to the field. And for me, that was an exact example of what came off the training field, went straight onto the rugby field. Yeah. And they would have. That's 100% how they train. That broken field play, that directness, that intensity, everything that Eddie does is about priding themselves on how quickly they get off the floor, their accelerations, constantly being in motion, playing smart, playing brutal. And obviously with the attack, they developed that. When he first came in, you can't, as a coach, you can't fix everything at once. That's where everyone goes wrong. Also as a player, you sometimes go, well, this is what I'm good at, but I'm not so good at this, I'm not so good at that. You spend all your time working your weaknesses instead of doing what you do well. And what Eddie came in and went, right, we've got a line out scrum, let's make that the best. And then, do you know what? We're going to add our defence. We're going to make our defence brutal. And the attack kind of was left unattended for the first few bits, but we still won that Six Nations, we still won that tour to Australia. And then he started bolting that on. And what he's done is he's made each incremental percentage improvement in the scrum and line out till we are right up there with the best in the world. And then he started adding his defence and where he wanted to play. And he didn't try and fix everything all in one go. And that was the culmination of it for me.
Yeah. At what point did you think the game was won?
Well, if you go back to it and you're honest about it, you didn't really think of it until about 7 from the end was when Dan Carter turned around and went, we're done. Right? Really? I think we hit another penalty, didn't we? And but that was the worry for 60 minutes. Is you're going, we've been so dominant, but we're not miles ahead. Everyone at half time we should have been 20, 22 points ahead. We weren't, and then obviously New Zealand score, and you're like,
oh God.
Because that's how good they are at just flipping a coin that quickly. So it wasn't until I think it was around 72 minutes or something like that where I was like, they don't have it. They're not going to let this slip away. And I mean, Haskell talked last week as if we could stay with them up to that point, then we could definitely grind them down. But because we've started fast against them before, and then they've come, like last November, and they've come past us. But at no point did I was worried because I know how easy New Zealand can just get one break and they can score. But then I was taking loads of just positivity from how, when they did make line breaks, the work rate of everyone just to go and sweep it up and sort it out and get it back to a base point, get it back to a set piece that they can then find their shape, restart, was incredible.
But even like the genius of having Mark Wilson, so Mark Wilson hasn't played in the first few games. Lewis Lidlam, who's done an amazing job, had been playing. Mark Wilson, he's been training his house down. And the thing with that group, and we'll talk about it more, what I was doing today, but they train for each other, they play for each other, they raise intensity. You're only as good normally in these World Cups or in training camps as the opposition not involved, as the bin juice, as we call it. Those guys who aren't involved need to front up. If they are casual, if they aren't as physical, if they don't pressure your skills, you go through training thinking we're $1 million, and suddenly you come against a team like the All Blacks and you get pulled apart. But because those guys are trained so hard, because Eddie creates that competition, as does Steve Borthwick, as does John Mitchell, having Mark Wilson come off the bench, chase back, get that turnover straight away when he hasn't played in however many weeks, just shows where they're at. And I think what was astounding for me was the defence. So a lot of coaches talk about line speed. John Mitchell had those guys hitting the All Blacks 10, 15 metres behind the gain line at one point. And that was, for an absolute, I'm not even a rugby nose, but from an ex kind of player who was in all those defensive groups and stuff, that was the most exciting bit. You watch New Zealand go through Richie Mo'unga, go whatever, Mo'unga, as they came back, they were literally getting hit so far behind the game or stopped that it was that was incredibly impressive, which you can't normally do, because when you're playing against New Zealand, you're so worried about their footwork, so worried about their skill, so worried about their handling. You almost play with inside yourself. But they did not give one shit and just took up, and that was amazing.
Well, when Sam Underhill hit Kieran Reid and literally just smashed him back, you're like, you sort of look at it and go, these boys aren't going to let up. And fair play, they didn't.
You mentioned Ali Williams, who had a couple of really interesting points on Saturday night about New Zealand being a group of All Black fans, not of rugby fans. And having played down there, and what he went on to say is that they don't watch Europe, they don't watch the Six Nations, they're not interested in the Premiership, they don't actually have any interest in rugby outside of New Zealand. Did that play into England's hands somehow?
Well,
because they don't seem to know about what Itoje's done in Europe and Farrell in the Six Nations, etc.
Yeah, well, look, we talked about the joke, and it kind of from my column stuff, we talked about it when Brodie Retallick got interviewed, and he said about really excited to play Michael Laws, and what upset me was not that someone made a mistake like that, was that if I'd done that in the media and said, I really want to play Colin Retallick, everyone would get really upset, and it'd be like English arrogance and everything else.
Ben Cohen, Shane Hu.
But ruined his life. They were selling posters outside, the Millennium Stadium with Shane Hu on it or whatever. So I think for me, they don't have that exposure. They don't see it. Like, I did a little funny interview for my YouTube channel asking what they thought European rugby was like, and at the time they were like Maul. They didn't think we played anything else. That's all we thought we did. So I don't think they have that exposure there.
But does that leave them vulnerable?
Well, I think
and obviously the coaches and the setup and the players will know who they are playing against in terms of the styles.
of course.
But you just wonder if it sort of the broader lack of awareness.
I think the thing is that we hadn't played them. So, I've talked a million times in this podcast about the psychological element, right? We've only played them once and we lost by 1 point, and that was because the line-out failed. There was no bad blood. Sam Underhill had never played, or only played them once before, and he lost by 1 point. Tom Curry had never played them. But half that team had experiences, but there wasn't that negativity. I think that we'd lost 15 times out of 16. Playing them. If you think about the All Blacks, there's all the stuff about the haka. There's the fact that everybody talks about them all week. We said that every time you meet a rugby fan in the world, or anyone who knows anything, they go, I don't like rugby, don't know anything about it, but I know that team, the new All Blacks. That's it. What everybody knows. That's the kind of standard answer. Yeah. And I think with these guys, there was none of that fear, and I think they didn't know about us. It was perfectly well played. They had no experience of us. They only had one game to watch, to recall. You can watch Mauro play, you can watch these teams play, but unless you play them consistently, you don't understand the feel for it. And I think that they assumed what they were going to be able to do was going to be good enough. But England quietly got on with them. And there was no psychological problem, because I guarantee that Eddie would have gone on at the beginning of the week, we're playing the best team in the world. These guys are brilliant. They're beatable. Here's 2 or 3 clips of what we're doing. We ain't fucking talking about them all week. Yeah. Stop talking about them. Don't talk about them in the press. Don't acknowledge them. Don't do anything. And just talk about yourselves. Worry about yourselves. Be yourselves. And that's what they did. And that's really important. And I think you're right. Look, they don't have that exposure. They don't see it. And if you're, when I went over there, I mean, I'm a nobody anyway. But they had no idea about Premiership rugby. Had no idea about European rugby. They didn't get exposure to it and didn't care about it. If you're an All Black, that's the greatest thing over there. Other than that, they don't really care.
There is a flip side to that, which is probably why they're so good, is they just focus on what they're doing. So there is a plus side to that. Yeah. In the fact that they're not. How many times have people watched New Zealand and then tried to react to what they do? Whereas if you're not, it can work in your favour also if you're just focusing on your own job, what you're trying to do, and you're good enough around enough players to be able to defend what anyone else throws at you. But you can still go and impose your game. So it works from both ways.
But also, let's not get carried away. If you saw the New Zealand Herald front page, that completely black page with if you want to find out what happened, let's not get carried away. This team is still the best team in the world. They have won consistently. They have a winning ratio better than any team in any sport across the world. Yeah. We beat them on the right day, with the right game plan, with the right players. Ex-players coming out and saying stuff. It's like, just relax. Yeah. Let's just see what happens later. Let's, when we beat them 50 times in a row, let's start, getting carried. Let's start carried away. You know what I mean? And that's the problem with sport. There's no rationality with the media. Yeah. A lot of fans, there's no rationality. These players have given everything, and they didn't get it right on the day. Yeah. People were saying, they weren't hungry. Bullshit. They were ready to play. They tried their best, but on this particular day, they got beaten. So, I just think, like I said to those fans, let's cheer, let's celebrate, but never rub it in someone else's face, because at some point, you're all going to drop the ball. And if you go too hard, too fucking early, when you make a mistake, they're going to come at you. And I think this is a great indication. Like I thought what Eddie did was unbelievably respectful.
Yeah.
Personally, also, I love that battle. I know we're going to talk about it with Warren Gatland and Eddie Jones.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
We enjoy that. We enjoy that.
Do you know what the best aside is? And again, I talk about it all the time, and I'm a bit of a social media whore myself, obviously. But the fact is that
get out
I don't believe you, James. No, so what they're saying is that on that is that obviously Warren said, he had a little bit of a dig, right?
They played the final already,
right?
yeah.
He played the final already. And Eddie went, enjoy your third, fourth playoff. What's interesting, if you look at under comments and fans, everyone's like, these two, Eddie Jones is terrible, shouldn't reply. It's like, guys, it's a fucking joke. It's a little dig. The world's going to carry on. Can everyone relax? And do you know what the best thing about social media is? Those comments where you write those really extended rants? Nobody gives a shit, right? Nobody has ever changed the world from writing a comment section of social media. It is the equivalent of a blue bottle buzzing at a window, making a fuckload of noise and achieving nothing. So please, when you get on there going, well, I'm going to, Eddie Jones couldn't do it. It's not wrong for rugby. It's like, fuck off. Go and have a drink and relax. All right, go and put your phone down. Honestly.
Look at this.
It is.
Look at this.
But I will say, and I said it before with all the deflection, when Eddie said that, I love Gat's got ultimate respect for him. He had a dig first.
Yeah.
Eddie buried him. And it was mega. And as a player, you see that, the lads would be like, unbelievable,
It's very much easier when you win, though, isn't it?
Very true. So, final. There were three things being in the game that I thought were really interesting, which I'd love to pick up with you. The first was at full time, George Ford's instant reaction was down. Everybody, no celebrating, keep it very, very quiet. The second was that there was a really, really nice hug between Eddie Jones and Steve Hansen, and there's obviously a huge amount of respect between those. Did you get the feel? Did you get the feel that came through at the end?
Look, I generally think that was a game where both teams have tried to leave it all on the field. Some of the hits, some of the bashes, the speed of the game, the amount of rucks, the amount of meters. There was over 1,100 meters of attacking ball in hand. Which, when you compare it to the shit that was on Sunday, there was like.
Evening to our Welsh friends. Good evening.
So the total combined of South Africa and Wales was less than each individual team on the day before. So they only had 480 metres combined. Wow. And New Zealand had more than England, 650. So I just think it was a game where everyone who'd taken part in it realised they'd left everything out there. And when there was no niggle, when was there a niggle? When was there a scuffle? When was there a hug and a kiss with a second row and a big bearded second row and a tiny, well-maned scrum half? That is what. There wasn't any of that niggle because everyone was just trying to get through the game. It was played at that much pace. It didn't have time for bullshit and niggle. And I think at the end of the game, everyone sort of went, we've just taken part in probably one of the best games that anyone's seen. I think that is from both sides. I think it was generally just an amazing game to watch. On the edge of my seat all the time. Midori, who's here, was distracting me, which I didn't really like very much. Thanks, Midori. But what's going on there? Fuck off, I'm watching.
Manners,
and then she didn't even
manners.
speak to me during the South Africa Wales game. I'm like, please, someone talk to me. So yeah, I think that is why the respect was there, because I don't think anyone left anything in the locker room. It was all just left on the field. And I was generally worried about how our players would be this week, because you looked at and they all just looked knackered. And obviously Haskell's been in today and they're bouncing already.
Yeah. You're doing down semi-final too. Obviously, you South African fans, are you pleased with the result? What did you make of the game? Yes or no? Good or bad? Good. Very good. Good. I'm very glad. We're very happy. Happy South African fans. Deep analysis.
He loves 81 kicks in a game.
Ball in the sky.
We all do, right?
Ball in the sky, 42 minutes. Two quick questions to finish with. The third thing I was going to say is that off the back of the defeat, all black players were out signing autographs for ages at the end, which I thought was unbelievably generous of them. Hansen was amazing in his post-match press conference. I noticed they just plucked out he got cross with one journalist, but the rest of it was unbelievably
Can I
generous.
say what's wrong with getting cross
Yeah.
with journalists?
I don't think there is anything.
I think what's wrong with having a personality?
It's raw emotion
Yeah.
as well. Still.
Yeah.
But you can't take away his passion.
But in what other walk of life, when you have media and journalists, do you get someone asking unaccountable questions and writing unaccountable subject matter and getting no recourse? If I make a slip up on this podcast, or I do something wrong, or I play like a tit, I have to deal with the consequences. Only in the media and the roads can you write what you want, say what you want, and no one comes knocking on your door. No one bollocks you or does anything. And I think it's great. Like I think what the New Zealand players did when there was 3 players before I saw in the newspaper. They'd ask Australian players about Checker. They'd been insulted Checker. They turn around and rude to the media. And it's good. I think you're never going to beat the media, and that's what you've got to remember. Unless you've got £100 million and can be bothered to go through a legal process, you ain't going to beat them, and they're just going to ignore what they said. But I think it's a point of fact. I love the fact that he called them out and said they're disrespectful, because too many times they write what they want and they get away with nothing.
Can I also just remind everybody that James's column is available to read right now on mailonline.com.
But the thing is, that's accountable.
Hell of a read.
Because every tip and opinion messages me on social media.
Kieran Reid and Steve Hansen, their legacies.
Yeah, look, I think, for me, Kieran Reid is a guy of my generation. I played against him, under 19s, under 21s, all the way through. Played against the All Blacks. I think probably one of the world's best number 8s ever. What an incredible player. I think, look, very few people get the fairy tale. We talked about it when I said about my retirement stuff. You look at Richard McCaw, Dan Carter finishing at the top of their game. No more, nothing else to prove. Richard McCaw walking off into the sunset with, 2 World Cups and a sack load of cash, and his body's still intact. That's the kind of dream. Some players like Kieran Reid, you want to go out on your shield. It was meant to be 3 World Cups in a row. That one bloke you would have seen on social media got that tattoo preemptively. What an idiot, right?
Ouch.
Ouch. You would have seen that, and he doesn't get that. That doesn't diminish from the fact that he's been incredible, that he's an incredible leader, that he was an unbelievable kind of family guy and a titan of what he's done. And I don't think that should be reflective of him. Same with Steve Hansen. They were the best team in the world consecutively for a period of time. He's won a World Cup with them. They had one off day, and that's the beauty of sport. That is why people literally define their lives around following a team, because it has all the emotion that some people's lives don't have. It has ups, downs, wins, losses. You get to talk about it all the time. It's just what encapsulates everything. And I think on that particular day, they fell short, and it's not a sign of how hard they trained, how clever they were. It was the right game at the wrong time, and I think it's really important that we appreciate that, and we celebrate them, because it's like Sergio Parise, the best Italian player ever, and him not getting him to play a game and just disappearing. I think you've got to respect these guys, because every player, and I know this for a fact, most players or professionals or people in life are unfulfilled. You never walk around going, I did this, how good was that, I won that. He won 2 World Cups. But this will sting, and he'll be sitting at home on the flight back to New Zealand or in New Zealand going, fuck, what could have been?
Yeah.
But you want to say to him, Kieran, hold on a minute, bro. You won 2 World Cups. You've done incredibly well. You've won X amount of stuff with the Crusaders. Enjoy yourself, but we're not built like that. And I think it's important that we're respectful and we show the support.
Beautifully put. Very supportive. I like that, Has. One more quick one. Very, very, very briefly, rumours prior to the semi-final, Ian Foster would have been the new All Black head coach. You would now go with? Joseph Schmidt, apparently going to France. Gatland's got Lions.
They're talking about that.
Scott Robertson. Dave Rennie to Australia. Apparently Rennie from Glasgow is going to Australia.
Yeah. I don't know, actually. They normally find from within, don't they?
Yeah.
If they look in their backroom stuff.
What about the breakdancing guy? Scott Robertson.
Scott Robertson.
Razor.
Well, that's going to be unbelievable, isn't it?
Imagine winning the World Cup and busting out the fish.
Well,
he would be good.
Yeah, mega. I think he would be incredible for the All Blacks.
Hasn't he re-signed for Japan?
Yeah,
He might have done, but
I think, look, someone like that. But the very fact is that you just need to stay calm in these moments and have a bit of rationality. And I think that whoever they choose will do an amazing job. They'll make the right decision. And when you've got a core, hardcore players like that, where I guarantee in 3 months' time or 4 months' time, you'll suddenly find a player that's going to start fullbacks that none of us have ever heard of, and he'll be the best person in the world. They've got like a conveyor belt of it, So I wouldn't really worry about the talent. I think they're in a great place. I think whoever they get will be awesome.
It's funny. I was talking to Conrad Smith, and he was saying
rugby friends. Snaky if you're good friends with him. Snaky.
Yeah. And he was saying it's not because they have a conveyor belt of them. It's because of they no, they don't have a conveyor belt, and they just spend a lot of time working on players.
Yeah.
Whereas he's been obviously in France for a bit, and if one guy's got limitations, like, right, where's the next guy? Because you've got a huge player pool to pick from. But what they do is they make sure they work on the guy, so they do build up their switch. So you end up with the academy system that the next guy who does come in has spent all his time working on that. So maybe there's a system there that we can
It
follow.
certainly works, doesn't it? I think it's fair to say we all still love the All Blacks and what they do in their game, and may they continue to thrive, but not this year, obviously. Nice to say that. I think it's time for a quick drink, maybe a quick pit stop as well. So just on that note, you are listening to and watching a live edition of House of Rugby, brought to you by Joe, together with our very good friends at Guinness. Here in Tokyo, in the company of two absolute legends. Welcome, Rugby Mike Tindall, and the ledge that is Mr. James Haskell, and our beautiful live audience. Still to come, we're going to drill down on the players, what they'll be doing this week from a man who's won the tournament. We've got a live show in Yokohama on Saturday night. So who is going to the final this Saturday? Check out the Facebook page. Come and have a drink with us afterwards, and hopefully we'll be celebrating a remarkable night. No tickets needed. We're a podcast. We're a podcast and a YouTube show. We're available every Wednesday. But now here's the former NBA star John Amici with news about a brand new show on Joe to the Bar. See you in 10.
My day job is helping businesses thrive through disruption. This show is not about business. It's about people who go from nothing, a seed of an idea, something that everybody thinks is completely impossible, and build it into this massive business. There are 1,000 different ways to be a huge success. One of the most interesting things that we're learning is that how people are failing is almost as important as how they succeed. In fact, it's integral. It's business. Pioneers is having really honest conversations with people, talking about their business, their objectives, their purpose, whether they're just out to make a ton of money and then quit, or whether they really want to change the world. Pioneers on Joe. Listen to it, download it, watch it. I had nothing profound to say.
You're watching the House of Rugby on Joe, together with Guinness.
Welcome back to our live show here at Peter O'Cole's Irish Bar in Shibuya. With our live audience. Welcome back to Haskell Tins, everyone. Another cheer, if you will.
I'd like to say we're not in Shibuya, but there you go.
Where are we?
If you think you've just moved.
Where are we?
Shinjuku.
We're in Shinjuku. Are we in Shinjuku? Yes. We're in Shinjuku. Welcome back to Shinjuku. I'm glad this is going well. There are two bits I want to spend some time talking about. The first is final week. Yeah. So this is your moment in the sunshine.
This is my moment.
What do you remember of the week now, looking back? Not the game, but the week.
Not much. No, I sort of remember actively that week. I think we've talked about it before in terms of where we'd been. We'd overtrained before the Wales game, and we'd been in sort of Brisbane area, boiling hot. And we trained so hard, and then we sort of went after that game and said, Clive, we need to sort of chill things out for the next 2 weeks. So our final week, we were doing one session a day, but it wasn't hard. It was all about refueling, getting energy in the tanks.
Who led that?
It was sort of John. I think the senior players, you look at Dorse, Lawrence, Backy, Hilda, they sort of had a word with Clive and said, look, when Jono says he feels flat in a game, then you know he's probably overtrained, because Jono just never felt flat. So he went and had a word with him, and Clive always, that was one of the best things about Clive, he always listened to his senior players. Really? So he trusted them that they were being honest, and he said, fine, and we backed right off. We just did one short, sharp session a day. Weights at that point were optional if you wanted to do them, because he was like, I don't want you leaving stuff that you can deliver on the field in the training week, and obviously it paid off at the end of it. Yeah. But I think the things I didn't really, everyone says now. I heard Will Greenwood say that this group of players should be writing everything down, remembering everyone that they meet. Yeah, it's great for like smoozy corporate dinners afterwards when you can tell a story, but at the end of the day, they're only thinking about winning a game. So my still focus that week was making sure that you arrive in that game ready to perform. It's the biggest game of your life.
Yeah.
How bad would it be if it was the worst game of your life?
Yeah.
So I spent about most of the week convincing myself that it was just another pitch, it's just another game. It's a team that you've never lost to Australia at that point. So why should I really be that worried about it? It's a team that I should expect to win. and just go out and do what you normally do against them, and you'll be fine.
Did you find yourself, the mind thing is fascinating, did you find yourself playing the game early in the week? Did you find yourself, I mean, we've all visualised scoring the winning try in a World Cup final, kicking a drop goal. I mean, did you find your mind wandering, or do you have techniques to stop that?
No, I think I should always sort of embrace that, because that's a positive mental image. If you end up scoring the last try, if you were Dorse making that final break, I was never going to be the fucking one who hit a drop goal, let's be honest. If you've ever seen me kick.
Me and you, brother. Me and you. Honestly, I tried to kick the ball once, they confiscated my boots. Honestly,
Well, why did they do it with your hands?
Yeah, well, I did as well, yeah. But put my boots on my hands and my hands on my feet.
It is more a talking around and sitting down with the players and going through things. And the best thing that I heard was even the day before when Dawson and Kieran were sat together talking about what ifs, and Dawson said to Kieran, "What if we need a drop goal to win?" And Kieran said, "You've got to dummy it. No one will be watching you. They'll all be watching Johnny for a drop kick."
Right?
And then, lo and behold, what happens? Genuine.
I've never heard that before.
Genuine. Day before, they had if you're ever in a situation to win a World Cup, you need a drop goal. Dummy it, because they won't be paying attention to you. And what do? Dummy it. Do you reckon Dorse lies in bed and go, "Why the fuck didn't it work on my sidestep?"
Yeah, I know.
Look at Johnny. Look what I could have had.
Yeah. Under the
Instead,
post.
I look like Jar Jar Binks.
4 doors. Do you remember the day before, the night before the...
I remember the journey to the game. That is one thing where I did think, I just spent my time looking out the window at every sort of England fan who was going and how they were getting there and what they were wearing. So I remember the bus journey. Obviously, I talked about the bus music before, and I had to do the music and eclectic bunch of nonsense. And then the moment that Eminem starts, have I timed it right? Yeah. Actually, I didn't time it right. We had to skip a song in a bit, and then sort of walking in, I just remember the fans walking there. It was raining. I know I was sat middle of the bus on the right-hand side and just watching all the fans as they walked in. So that side, I've got quite a lot of clarity on and around the game and who was sat where, and that obviously everyone goes through their usual rituals in terms of Will and Johnny and everything. And
who was the most superstitious?
Will was without doubt. Johnny was close, but most of his took place through his kicking routine. Practice and routine. Will with lucky socks, lucky shirts, lucky pants. Literally, which order he put his fucking socks on, which order he put. It was ridiculous. It's like, Will, mate, what are you going to notice if one thing goes wrong? He goes, yes, I will notice. But did you have anything? As long as you play well, I don't care.
Did you have anything that you needed to do in order to feel comfortable?
No, just jump around the changing room like a madman, really.
You were the ball of energy.
Danced around, yeah.
Do you remember big speeches? Or by then is that sort of all in the minds of the fans?
That wasn't. But then that wasn't really what Jono did. Jono wasn't a big speaker. Clive would always have his bit with his flipboard, and he'd go through points that we go through. Jono would then when you've got people, you had Tomo, you had Lawrence, you had Backy, you had quite a lot of people who would still, Josh. Please shut up, Josh. Those sort of guys who would drive that
the noise,
and then it would come into a silence, and then Jono would just say what he needed to say. Normally, just sort of reaffirming things we've talked about in the week.
Yeah,
and then we'd go out.
Who did the biggest nerves? I mean, we've all seen. I'm sure most of us have seen the Living Lions documentary. Neil Jenkins being sick on the pitch before the anthems and retching it. Were there those kind of characters?
I'm not sure we had many spewers.
Right.
Johnny always looked like he was going to have a heart attack at some point, which is great when your fly half looks like that. Yeah. You're basically holding this shit together, pal. Can you? But when you've spent that many times in a change room together, you know what they are, and you just allow them to get on with what they need. Yeah. Facilitate it if you need to, if you know it's going to make them in a better place. And that's what you do as a team, is you understand everyone's needs, and then you allow them to you either help them deliver it, or you make sure that you're not in the way of it. So, and that's what you do. You don't go up to Johnny just as he's getting ready and give him a plum shot or a flick to the nuts. You just don't do that because, you know. The reason why you don't do it, because Johnny will go, oh, why has he done that? Sorry, don't analyse it, Johnny. Stop.
But on the reverse side, who would you go and do that to?
Moodos.
Right, good, perfect. Yeah, so
literally.
Yeah.
And he'd go, let's go, we can play now. Yeah. Literally. There's no one like Moodos, promise you. We used to go to Bath Rugby Club, and Moodos just loved throwing things at your nuts. Why he did it, no one knows. I think it was. But what the worst thing was, the second generation of Moody's now, his kids. I was stood in the bar in Bath, and then suddenly I get hit in the nuts. I'm like, Moodos. Moodos is stood over there, and his kids there, he's going. And you're like,
one of those.
Come on.
One of those. Does any of that ring true nowadays? I mean, in this change room, is it similar or has it moved on? It sort of feels in some ways. You remember the French side in the 90s, 80s, 90s that would emerge with blood seeping from their head, you know, as they ran onto the pitch. It looks to be much more kind of methodical now than emotional.
When I first started playing, nobody listened to music on the bus. Everyone was kind of tuned in, doing their own thing. I started working with a sports psychologist when I was about 18, and we talked about trying to get consistent preparation. And one of the things was making a couple of notes pre-game and listening to music. So I started wearing headphones on the bus. And actually, at the time, it upset quite a few of the senior players. You know, they didn't understand why I was listening to music, couldn't understand it, why I was doing that. And so much so that in the changing room, you know, I had to have one ear out, because I think when Lawrence was speaking, a few of the guys were like, you're not listening to captain, you need to be in tune. So I would have one ear out, listen to it. I'd have my notebook, and I remember a couple of players were going, what the F are you writing down that notebook? You don't need that. And it was my way of consistently being like that. And actually, a lot of times in my career, you know, as a player, when you played 8-9 games a season, you could do that on emotion. When you're playing the amount of level of games we're playing, with the travelling, with the demands, with all the stuff that's going on in your life, imagine hypothetically, you know, you're a bit injured in the week, you're tired, you had an argument with your missus, you know, you've slept in a tiny little fish finger bed in a hotel room of like, she's here, we don't normally argue. No, we have a chat, we both agree that she was right.
It was a previous business.
No, yeah.
Unbelievable. Cut.
Accurate, yeah.
There've been a few.
No, we
don't. Shut up, Tindall.
But then again, too few to mention.
No, I'm not. He's not wrong. No, when you completed it, you just got to settle down, haven't you? Joking.
Someone's walking home this evening.
I was making a succinct point, and you completely fucked it. Very much like I did. Joking. Lads. No. So so basically we would use that. So whatever happened is when you got to a game, you wanted that consistent ability to be able to tune in to things. So, you know, I'll give you an example. Woke up when I was playing in Japan, woke up on Christmas Day, in a hotel room on a tiny little fish finger bed. Breakfast was miso soup, rice, fish. Nobody celebrated Christmas over here. You're 1,000 miles away from your family. How do you then go, I want to play? How do you switch on? Well, you're still a professional, being paid to be there, you've got to do it. So I put my music on, check my notes, be professional. And I think now everybody in the change room's got their headphones on. Yeah. Everybody's in their own world. But like Mike said, you've got to respect people for what they are, unless it's some ridiculous thing. Like I remember one of the players I had when I was captain of WAS would start singing hymns to himself, right, and like Bible verses. Right. But the problem is he'd do it right next to me while I was speaking. So I had to have a quiet word with him and said, "Listen, mate, without being, I don't want to interfere in what you're doing in your religion, but just keep that shit to your little zone, because I don't want a little town of Bethlehem coming out when I'm trying to talk about what I'm doing." Because I said, "Listen, everyone, each their own. We live in 2019. Everyone's whatever you want to be. You could be a cactus, a lemon, whatever it might be. But you can't. I just said to him to rein that little bit in. But also then you kind of get the other guys who. What's interesting is you get the guys who consistently speak. So Lawrence was a great orator. He was incredible. He's renowned. There's tons of stories about his speaking and how he used to do things. And he was very much a Churchillian speech guy, tears in his eyes. Big chest up, head out. Chin jutting. It was favourite when he'd come in and he would pick up a plastic cup from the table and he'd drink it and he'd crush it as if he was crushing a proper glass. You're like, it's a plastic cup. pretty sure my nan's got arthritis in her hands, and she could crush that cup. But it was the vehemence that he threw it to the floor. So it's all that kind of thing that goes on. But then you get some players who they scream and shout. There's nothing worse than the scrum half that used to play with that would scream and shout, F and blind, drop everything about doing this, we're going to do that to them. And I was thinking, bro, you've never made a tackle. So I honestly...
Who was that?
I'm not going to throw him out of the bus, but he would do that, and he was doing it for himself. So like he said, you know, you're swearing and doing stuff because he wanted to do that because that was motivating him. So you kind of got to be accepting. But a bit like we were saying with Josh, sometimes you're just like, as a captain, you're like, right, all right, simmer down. You know, turn the Bible verses down, turn the angry chat down. Let's focus on what's important.
Ever tell you the worst one?
No, you're not allowed to speak. You've done me in the arm. I'm getting divorced after this show, so you know, I won't be. We'll have a chat like we normally do. Have an argument and agree that she's right.
I don't think I need to say anything now. Yeah. The worst one was I played England schoolboys. I ever tell you England versus France, right? And I'm from up north, and I haven't done that.
Boy,
much.
done good though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Amazing climb to fame.
It's like a modern day fairy tale.
It really is, isn't it?
Coal miner to the royal family. So, hey, to all the young listeners, yeah, never give up on your dreams, yeah. Anything could happen. You believe in it. You keep working it. You go to the right party, and you could be all right. You know?
What party is that?
What party is that? Yeah.
I think that's 1-1 actually, to be fair. Well done. Good reply.
Yeah, Flats always introduced me. Yeah, you've got to win a World Cup. Well played. Flats introduced me as that from Wakefield to Windsor at my wedding. Went down like a storm.
But only because they didn't know you were from Wakefield. You what?
Yeah.
I don't believe
Cancel!
it. Yeah. Release the hounds.
I'd fancy myself against them. I'd fancy myself. Anyway, move on because I'm not going to tell you. It's not funny what I'm going to say.
Yeah, sorry.
What I did want to ask you about is your pre-match routine. When we did the show with Chloe, she revealed that you used to do a lot of hoovering on the morning of a big game. I just wonder if anyone this Saturday will be ironing or making a bed or making.
No.
Was that OCD or was that a routine?
So what would happen is it was kind of almost like a tidying of the mind. So I'm known for, if you ask my wife, I'm known for leaving piles of stuff all around the place. Organised chaos. So I know where everything is. She comes, interferes with it, moves it and everything else. She can't find anything. It's a big bone of contention. I'm glad we brought it up. Always air your dirty laundry.
Still going home without an argument.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're so in love. So, so what would happen is that I would get in the house and I was like, the first things first, I'd want to pick my kit back. And I was haunted throughout my career by having dreams that I was late, that I'd missed the game, that I had forgotten my boots. And all the way through your career, there's always a moment where you thought you've packed something, you've left a gum shield, you've left something, and it's just so horrific. So what I would do is in the kind of 48 hours before, I would start tidying up my hotel room, start organising everything, putting everything tidy. I'd have my bag packed 24 hours before, make sure everything I had was charged up. Because, back in the day, you used to have cable earphones. Now everything requires charging up. Nothing worse than getting to the game going, I'm going to have a big game. Let's put these tunes on. Boo! You're like, you're like, have you got any wired cables, please? And also now they don't even have an audio jack in there, so it's a bit of a nightmare. So I would do all that kind of stuff, get my mind settled, start tidying the house. But I'd get a bit carried away and start going into the garden, start trying to mow the lawn. And Chloe's like, you've got to be on the team bus in a minute. So it was just, my idea was to organise everything and I would feel good, secure, locked and squared away, ready to play.
So the game comes Saturday. Just what do you remember of? I suppose the changing room, the warm up, the tunnel, and when it kicked off, was it just like any other game, or were you aware throughout the course of the match the significance?
No, one of my strengths was being able to switch, to sort of snap into from messing around, being quite loose, be bouncing around, to then snapping onto game mode. And that was one of my strengths, that I could jump in and out of that. So I was quite comfortable and relaxed. The inside, there's always nerves. There always is nerves. If someone tells you they're not nervous, either they don't care or they don't sort of register what they're about to do. So I always get nervous, but I knew how to still have a laugh and a joke with people that you can do. But then once it came around to switching on, I could do that. And so in the changing rooms, again, music was a big thing, but I didn't sort of stick it on my... I like talking to people, so I like music in the background, so I like to bounce around and just look people in the eye and see if you get that look back where you know they're there. If it's not quite there, you ask them, are you fine? Anything going on? This is probably later than that World Cup, and then the tunnel. I always remember the tunnel because I've told you the story. I think I've told that story before here. I was very giddy that day because I knew that I like the big occasion. I loved that sort of game and the pressure that comes with that game. And obviously I was in the tunnel and I was stood across, by pure chance, stood across from Stirling Mortlock. It's one of those games, those iconic moments where you run past the cup and you have to do that. And I sort of stood in this and I'm looking and I'm bouncing around. I want to say something to someone. Yeah. And I've turned to my right and Stirling Mortlock's there. And for some unknown reason, I've gone, fucking hell, Stirling, you better play well today because I'm going to be amazing.
I love that. I just love that.
And Stirling sort of turned to me and he was literally boring a hole in the back of Lottie Takiri at the time. And he's turned to me and stared at me and I've gone, shit. Tunnel fight is not the best way to start a World Cup final. And to be fair to him, he just literally leaned over, slapped me off and went, fucking oath, mate, let's go. and that was sort of it. And we went,
I love that.
And we went out, we went to war, and he was one of the first people I sort of sat down and had a beer with, swapped shirts with afterwards. And to this day, whenever I go back to Australia, I still give him a shout, and we go and have a game of golf.
Do you that is, yeah, it's rugby. That is rugby.
He's got a jersey on.
Yeah. Do you remember anything from the game? Do you remember bits of the game?
No,
or is it going to blur?
If I tried to describe the game, I have actually now watched it back once.
Yeah.
And it has shattered everything that I remember about the game.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't realise that Benny Kay fucked that try up so early on in the game. I literally thought it was like the last 20 minutes of the game. It's like, fucking, he's blown that game. It was literally after 25 minutes.
Yeah.
But I still believe that if he'd scored that try, we'd have gone on and won at a canter. But yeah, so my actual memory has distorted everything about around where it is. The only thing I've got pure clarity on is I went off the field on 78 minutes, 33 seconds, and we were winning.
Were you irritated to be taken off? Or was that
no? I literally no. So on the other side of it, I had done a run and my hamstring just went really tight. Wasn't a pull, wasn't a twitch, and I was just like, I'm not gonna miss a tackle that'll cost us the. I know Catty can come on and do a job. Yeah. I don't want to be the one that I'll go to make a tackle, my hamstring goes or something. So as soon as it went tight, I was like, there's no point. Yeah. I don't want to risk anything at this point. So I just literally said, look, it's gone tight. Yeah. Get me off. Get Catty on. And Catty came on and played really well again. And that's confidence in the squad. And it's not about the greater glory and the bigger moment of you being on there when the final whistle goes and you're jumping around. Yeah. I knew the role that I'd already played in that game. It's about making sure we get to the finish line and we see it off. Yeah.
Can you surmise how much the 22nd of November 2003 changed your life? With reference to what these guys
Zoe!
Correct answer. Correct answer.
Is it true? She said she doesn't date silver medalists. So
it's true. It is true. Only gold ones.
Yeah. But I mean, did it change everything?
Yeah, of course it did. Of course.
He's on this podcast for one.
Yeah, very true.
I'm not the Archbishop of Banterbury.
No, you're right. You're absolutely not.
Can we just? Yeah. You need to sort this out at the moment.
I know.
It's a bit
terrible,
fluffy around the edges.
The worst thing is when your lid's slipping off the back and your hair grows out wider than it grows on top. I'm looking very elderly at the moment.
Little wind resistant. Yeah.
I don't ever look back and I don't dwell on that. Yeah. It was amazing at that time. You live in the moment. You do whatever. But then my mentality was, right, you've got to move on. What's next? Well, it's defending a World Cup or it's making sure we stay at number one, which we failed miserably at, by the way. Yeah. But yeah.
Tell everyone what you've been doing today.
So I was very lucky. I was very lucky to get the opportunity to go in the to England camp and go to training and go on the team bus and have lunch with the guys. I got invited by Eddie to do that, and obviously not going to reveal too much of what happened, but it was incredible for me to get the opportunity, really, and really quite moving. It was just great to be there and see the guys and see how they're training and what kind of state they're in, and it was amazing. I think it's very, very lucky. I don't think many coaches would have let that happen, but he offered me opportunity and I just leapt at it.
Can you explain why he got you in?
I just think what's really important is, and this is, I've got nothing to do with what the guys have achieved here. And this is no statement at all about that. It's more to do with the fact that in anything in rugby, it's about a squad, and we started on a journey 4 years ago, and I think much more relevant than I am is someone like Dylan, who had such an impact. I genuinely said this before, that nobody could have captained that side like he did. Yeah. Nobody could have done what he did, and we were on a journey. We started from, I think we were either 8th in the world or 5th in the world or somewhere. We've been written off. Northern Hemisphere rugby was the worst it's ever going to be, and we were unfit, we were terrible. I never thought I was going to play for England again, and Eddie gave me an opportunity to do that, and I played some of the best rugby I've ever played. I loved every single moment of it. I look back at the 2 World Cups I've had, and they were terrible. And I would have.
Sorry, bro.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I would have traded. And I would have traded. I would have traded. It's very kind of thank you. I would have traded everything that I had to have had an opportunity to go to the World Cup with Eddie. Yeah. So he invited me in and was just very complimentary about the role that all the players that hadn't made it there. Your Chris Robshaws, your Danny Cares, your Mike Browns, Dylan Hartleys, and myself. And from the moment I kind of got in the bus, those guys. I know they get criticised sometimes, but they're such a squad of good people, and Owen leads them so well. They were, every single one of them is so desperate to perform and win. They were incredibly welcoming. They have that great ability to enjoy their company of each other off the field. I've said it before. You don't have to be best friends with everyone to win a World Cup. You have to be respectful of each other and let each other be who they're going to be, and they do that very well. They train the house down. They were very relaxed and unbelievably positive. And just for me, like as someone that's not involved, just to be given that opportunity to sit there and see what they were doing and just feel part of it for 5 minutes. Because look, watching those games, I've said it before. I'm always very, my dream was to finish at a World Cup. And look, the way Sam Underhill and Tom Curry played, they moved the bar to a whole thing. They played better than I could ever play, and I probably would never have got in the team. But the potential to have been there and to fight it out, I wish it had been in my hands. It wasn't. Yeah. So to then go there and see what they're doing and just have a little taste and be part of it and watch them train and watch them shake their hands and sit down and have food, have a coffee with them and see that they are relaxed, that this is a final, it's the biggest game of their lives, but actually they're in such good headspace. Yeah. They have that ability to switch on and switch off was really moving. And I came out of it, and do you know what the weird thing was? For 30 seconds to a minute, I thought, I'm back here. They were winding me up saying, the first thing Eddie said in the meeting is, for one game only, we're bringing back Haskell. Yeah. By the way, the biggest selection turnout, I was like, I'm ready, Chief. Because that would be mega, wouldn't it? Yeah. I tried to push Sam Underhill down the stairs or, Poison Billy. It did cross my mind, but then I couldn't get through 5 minutes of training.
Then you looked at your toe and it was pointing up. Oh, maybe not.
Yeah, and I'd left my hands in the car as usual. It was just great to kind of do that. And do you know what, when I finished the coffee and they were all sitting in the team room, and I walked out and I said goodbye to everyone. As I walked out, I thought for a minute that I was back in there, that I was part of it, and then I got in the taxi and I left, and I was like, do you know what, my time's done, and I'm so excited to see what they can do. And I think whatever happens in a World Cup, it's such an honour and a privilege to get this far and such a journey. And, I think if they go on and win it, I talked at the start about being fulfilled with your career. And, I was lucky enough to go on a Lions tour, but I said to you guys, do I regard myself as a Lions? Not really, because I didn't get a test. I won a European Cup, I won the Premiership, but I never won a World Cup. If someone like Maro was to go on and win it, and how incredible he played last week, he literally would have done everything in rugby. And no doubt he would be unfulfilled because he wants to do more with his life. But these are seminal moments where you can turn around and go, draw a line under it, go, do you know what, I've achieved everything there is to achieve. And for me, someone like me, it really makes you realise your mortality, that I had my time in the sun and I enjoyed it and I gave everything I could do, but I fell before the final hurdle, and that's always going to be what it is. But I'm very excited to see what they can do, and for Eddie to give me that,
Look at that. That's a brilliant reaction from the House of Rugby. I mean, I can tell you, it's been quite an emotional day.
Yeah.
And actually, not more than that, because we watched the Australia game together. And what was fascinating about that is that you couldn't really watch a lot of it. And I just wonder how the last 2 weeks have been as this story's unfolded for you personally. We're going to talk about the team, but for you personally, it's been quite tough.
Yeah, it has. Look, I'm not trying to make this about me, but because it's not. It's about these guys on there. It's just a perspective, and I think.
But you're speaking for you and Dylan and Mike and Danny and Chris.
And I said, like, for Dylan more so than anyone else, he genuinely lived his life for that entire 3.5 years to be the best captain, and it wasn't just a 9 to 5 job. It was a 5 to 9 job. It was, he had to work harder than anyone. He had to do all this kind of stuff that anyone else did. If I was on his training regime, I would have retired about three years ago. Eddie worked him so hard, and he set standards. And I think I see him sitting at home. I see Chris Robshaw doing what he did. That resurrection where so many people were was unnecessarily aggressive with him in the media and the fans, and then I criticised him. And we got him on the show, and I'm not going to say the full story because it's not constructive, but he was thrown under the bus for a lot of reasons. So all these blokes who wanted to finish and do that, and they didn't get the opportunity. I have found it hard because I'm competitive. We said before, if you watch the Oscars and when someone gets Best Actor, you can see all the actors like, brilliant, I'm going to push you down the stairs, you bastard. Like, they're happy, but they're not happy. I'm competitive. My dream would have been to finish at the World Cup. So to sit and watch it, and I haven't been to any of the games. It's nice to be around with the team, but it's hard. Like you think, I'm very much aware of my own mortality and how I would want to perceive. And the greatest thing you could do is go, like with Mike, we joke, World Cup winner, and James Haskell. I'm never going to have that name, that thing next to me, and it is what it is. But today it was just a very nice thing, and I think, last week watching them against the All Blacks, I was genuinely reduced to a fan. I've never had that before. I like rugby, but I'm not blown away. I don't live and breathe it. I don't watch a lot of it. I only ever watch rugby if I could learn from people. Yeah. But I sat down there and I couldn't control my emotions. We were filming some stuff and everything else, but I was so on the edge of my seat, and to see them do it and see how much struggle and sacrifice they've had to go. And he knows better than anyone that it is giving up time, giving up your body, giving up holidays, giving up work, getting a bit filled in for a living, going through pain, doing whatever you can do to get to that. And same with South Africa. Same with South African players who are going to the final. They've all done that. It's pretty magical, and it has been very hard. But I think doing this and what Eddie let me do today is nice. I'm now a fan again. I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to celebrate it.
That gets a cheer. Well done, Eddie, as well. He's a clever guy, Eddie, actually, isn't he?
It is generally a funny thing, because I've never been a fan either. Like, literally, I didn't have a football team. Well, I was Leeds United, but
you weren't. Dirty Leeds. Dirty Leeds.
But
yeah, I know. Well, I was still unforgivable.
But then I used to go watch them when they were 95, 96, 97 when
Champions League.
They were actually
David O'Leary.
But then because of rugby then took over, I've never really been a fan of anything else, bar darts probably. It's a good night for a piss.
Say it boy out north, but not north out boy.
But then when an example for me was when the racehorse that we had, Monbeg came third in the Grand National. I couldn't handle it. I didn't generally know how to deal with something that I actually cared about happening in front of me. And I had to go for a little. I left all the guys and I had to go for a little wander around. And AP had his wall, and I signed it. And it was the same on Saturday. Like, because I always I try and look at rugby and be quite analytical about it and break it down. And I always talk. And why I've been sort of mean to Irish fans, our Irish team and the Welsh team, is the quality of the rugby that I see. Yes, obviously Wales won a Grand Slam, but I look at the team and I see that they can play better rugby than what they play. So that is why I want to do it. I think the same about the South African team. I think they've gone back into their shell from where they were in the Rugby Championships.
Don't give them any ammunition.
I'm not giving them ammunition.
Don't give them any ammunition.
When they keep winning, I can't say anything about it because they're winning.
Yep,
I would prefer to see them. Why is Willie LaRue not having the championship or the Rugby World Cup that you would expect him to have? Well, they don't actually give him the ball to actually in a place where he wants it. Yeah. Are they going to, when Cheslin Colby comes back in, are they going to give him the ball to allow him, or are you going to box kick all the way? Anyway, that's going off the script. So when England won, I don't think I've ever done a social media video about a game straight after a thing, and I was absolutely blown away and completely. And if I was honest, I would say, in times, from the 2003, have I wanted them to win World Cups? And I'm like, well, no, because I like having that.
Currency.
Well, not generally currency, just having that
Being unique,
being
yeah.
part of that 31 people that have it.
Yeah.
And the more, the 1966 lots are on the last leg. So if they go,
Oi, it's a first.
now the cricket, obviously now the cricket have come into the fold. So but then when I genuinely on Saturday forgot all of that because I loved the way they played the game. I loved the completeness of the game, and I just loved everything from. I like it when I see work ethic. I like it when I see clinical, when you can see the work that's been put in through the week. So I was exactly the same as Hask. For the first time, I was like, I hope they do go on and win it, and I hope they win it playing that rugby.
Too easy. Just before we last one, but just before we do our Guinness Perfect Pour, just give us a sense of the mood. I mean, we've been talking about the pressure and the excitement and where your thoughts go. Can you feel that in the squad, or are they?
I think there was a little bit of excitement, but it's so business as usual. Eddie said in the press conference after he buried Gats, was that he said that this whenever you want from the journalists or talking to players and else, you want a soundbite. You want them to say it's the biggest week of their lives and everything else. That's obviously obvious to everybody. The most important thing is that the players wake up consistently and do what they've all been doing for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Attention to detail, being constructive in meetings, training the house down, enjoying each other's company, recovering, sleeping and resting. And I think the biggest indictment of everything that they've done was there was one player not training, and that was Willie Hines, who sadly got injured. Everybody was out on the field, which is an incredible achievement at this stage of the tournament. The training was as intense as I've ever seen. And again, the same thing with the guys not involved. I said in my column about Joe Launchbury, a guy that in most sides of the world would get into the second row hasn't had the opportunity. And they said, what do you think he'll be doing? I said, well, I'll tell you what, he'll be getting into mauls, pulling people down, counter-rucking. He was doing that today. The players who aren't involved were setting the standards. Jack Singleton, all these guys were being so competitive. They trained, they came off the field, and they were together, and they were chatting and giving each other stick like you do, and they just felt perfectly relaxed, perfectly professional. If I didn't know it was the World Cup final, you would not know any different. And I think that's the beauty of it. And I think that the way they calculate and the way the coaching staff do things is that when you're on, you're on. When you're off, you're off. And they want to encourage the players to be like that. And I think it was great. But it was just so positive and lovely and like not. I promise you, if I had no idea where we were, you'd think it was just a normal England training camp and they were just preparing for a normal game.
That is amazing.
It is a normal game, isn't it?
It is a normal game.
Yeah.
They've got better and better and better. And Saturday was seismic. It was unbelievable in the intensity and the performance. Does that graph continue?
Look,
can they get back to that performance again?
I don't care as long as they win.
Okay. If
what Mike said, if Benny Kay had scored that try, all the purists want a mega final.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to remember anything, when it comes down to whether they won or lost. It doesn't matter whether they play dirty, whether we get a last minute, when it goes to right down to wire. As long as we get the performance, we can pick that up. New Zealand against them was a seminal moment. The rest of it, let's just not worry about it, because look, we haven't talked a lot about them, and I think it's important to know that South Africa are a very difficult side. They are the side that were probably favourites coming to this tournament. They had a very difficult first game. They were incredibly tough, incredibly physical. They play a game like nobody else. It's very easy to get caught out with them, in terms of that physical man test. They are big units, and they strangle you in every way, shape or form. And if you're not prepared, if you're not ready, they'll catch you out. They're not going to deviate. I spoke to one of the Welsh players in the week. He thought, well, would South Africa play a different kind of game? Would they be more expansive? No, they did exactly what they do really well, absolutely strangle them. We saw what they did to Japan in the second half. You're going to have to be on your money. On the tour, we had two consecutive leads against them. Let them slide. And they're a very, very dangerous team. And I think that they've kind of gone through what they've done with business as usual, but they're prepared to win dirty. And if we're not ready, we'll be in trouble.
Go on, England. Fair. I'll set up. Put the gobstopper in. Right, time for this week's Perfect Pour together with our friends at Guinness. Our weekly test in 119.5 seconds. because that's how long it takes to pour the perfect pint. We actually asked for a suggestion from our crowd tonight, and they said the best Kiwi 15 never to win a World Cup.
I can't believe I've been gagged
No,
tonight.
you're shush. You're done. You're on mute.
It's only because the Saffers have been drinking a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
And
we
the
want to
most
get out of here
exciting
alive.
song was like, yes, I'm very happy. If that's him happy and you mug him off, I don't think we'll get out of here alive.
Right. Our weekly test is because we're talking about how difficult it is to win a World Cup. We thought we'd highlight that with a Kiwi 15 of players who never won the World Cup. Obviously, well, that's gone that well, isn't it?
We weren't celebrating them. We felt bad for them.
It just highlights what we've been talking about here, which is whoever comes out on top on Saturday, it's a remarkable achievement. So. You are more of a rugby Norse than Hask. Do you want to lead us off? Kiwi.
Where are we starting? Then?
We're starting
start
front row.
15.
You can start at 15.
I can't remember. Well, 15, obviously, Christian Cullen.
Yeah.
Without doubt.
I mean, one of the game's greatest of all time, surely.
Greatest
Round of
of all
applause to Christian Cullen. Back three.
Lomu,
obviously.
Yeah.
Greatest players ever played the game.
Yeah. Game changer. Rokethoko. Wilson.
By the way, Joe Rokethoko is probably one of the best players I've ever seen on a field. Or when I played Barbarians rugby with him, he was on a level that I couldn't even. Well, most people say I couldn't even get to anyway. But he was on a completely different scale. It was unbelievable.
Why?
Just what he could see. Like I always talked about, like Sinbad and what he could see. Joe Rokethoko could see it, but then he'd think he'd had him, and he'd do a 360 spin, and it'd be gone, or he'd throw a dummy that anyone would take, and then he's gone. It was literally ridiculous. So I coached that. And then I was backs coach for when Rokethoko, Rennie Ranger, Mills Muliaina, and these three were in our back three, and literally. You could see during the game that they would just be talking to each other, and you could see them work as a unit. And then you could see, like, no, we don't want it now. We don't want it now.
Yeah.
Now I want it. Bang.
So you're going Rokethoko ahead of Wilson or Sivivatu?
What about...
Or Howlett. Brilliant shout. Audience participation.
What about...
Rupeni was Fijian.
Oh, he did play for
Yeah, it didn't play for France.
Yeah. See, you've done me. But that's the problem. They have so many. Dougie Howlett was...
Incredible.
But the thing is with Rokethoko, what I'd say is he had 65 caps and he was 26 years old, similar to Joe Roth, and then he went to France.
Well,
so
he was dropped and then went to France.
Well, yeah, but he still went. This is a guy who's got 65 caps, 35 tries for his country, and he's only 26 or whatever he was.
Yeah. Who are you picking?
I'm picking Rokethoko.
Okay, Rokethoko.
Yeah. We said Marshall and Marshall at 9, Mertens at 10.
Anyone want Carlos Spencer?
Carlos or Mertens?
Carlos.
All right, we said
King Carlos, although Mertens played in the final. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Centres, Umaga and Bunce.
Umaga and Bunce. Any arguments?
Walter Little, Umaga and Bunce.
Frank Bunce.
McAllister, Leon McDonald.
front row.
McDonald. No.
Front row went Olo Brown, Anton Oliver,
Muse, Heyman or Dowd.
Case Muse.
Okay.
Ooh, really?
Second rows.
Ian Jones.
Yeah.
Robin Jones.
Robin Brooke.
Robin Brooke.
Yeah.
We said Cromfield at 7.
Yeah.
Ardy Savir at 6.
How well did he play actually throughout the course of
he
this
was mega. Yeah, and Rodney Suriala at 8.
Suriala at 8. That is a hell of a team.
That is a mega.
Anyone else want to shout another All Black who hasn't won the World Cup who should be in the team? Who? Jerry Collins.
Great shout.
Jerry Collins. What that highlights is there are some bloody good players out there who don't get to win a World Cup.
It's not easy. It ain't easy.
James Haskell. He doesn't play for Damien McKenzie. Exactly. We've got a couple of extra VIPs who've wandered in. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to Mr. Wayne Barnes. Give us a wave, Barner! We've also got, I think, the guy who has absolutely nailed this year's World Cup from a broadcast point of view. It is the legend, Mr. David Flatman! What a boy! Welcome to the Flats. We're going to have an Anchorman podcast standoff in a moment or two.
Actually, I would love to have the. I would actually love to have the legend that is David Flatman on the podcast. The sole reason that when we were first of all, he's a lovely guy.
Yeah.
Maybe not right now.
We'll do a proper one. We'll do a big one another time.
We'll do it another time.
We're going to have a super pod, like
you
a
have to
super
pay
group.
him. You have to pay him to get on, so we haven't got the cash now.
We can have a whip round.
The second reason is that actually Dave and I were in charge of the England entertainment on the tour to Australia. We made a double act, sort of hail and pace,
I love
at the front of the bus. So I would love to share those moments because he's a man, who is, I would say, slightly more funny than I am, which is a pretty
stand by your beds for the super group. He's also been running from you for the last 2 weeks, so it's nice to see he's turned up to the pub.
He's been playing safe. So tonight.
Tonight's going to be your early night room service. No more.
Tonight.
Right, we're going to finish in 10 seconds' time. We are going to finish. Last question. When Saturday comes, what's going to happen?
Oh, do you want an honest answer?
Yeah, honest answer.
Look, I think obviously World Cup finals are any day who can turn up and win. But I believe that England are in a completely different place to where South Africa are in terms of rugby. Now, that doesn't mean that, as our man here said, they could go out there, kick the ball 150 times and he could win by 3 points. But I think if England turn up and play like they did last week, I generally believe they will win quite easy. But I need to change because I've always gone the other way. I've said my predictions never work. So I predicted New Zealand to win. So I'm going to predict South Africa to win.
Go on, the Bocker. You were in there. You've lived and breathed the journey for 3 years.
Look, I've had no doubt before this tournament. I think when it comes to final days, strange things happen. I think as long as Susie's not doing the catering for that one who did the catering for New Zealand during the World Cup, I think for me you got to credit South Africa for what they've done and the turnaround they've had. But I said that. I said before the tournament, I say it now, I believe England are going to win. I believe they can do it. They've put the work in, and whatever happens, whether it's ugly or a beautiful game of rugby, I want England to lift the trophy. And I tell you,
right. Wait. We're going to do that in 10 seconds. Stop!
Wait.
We're going to do it in 10 seconds. Give me 10 seconds.
Don't get
10 seconds.
early.
10 seconds.
I will say there's a reason I'm not going to the game, because if I did, I'm going to fully John Terry it. I will be up there like a rat up a drain pipe.
Right, give us 15 seconds, and then you can sing us out with the great tradition that is Swing Low. Just to remind you, we're going to do a live show in Yokohama on Saturday night, come what may. Come and watch the game with the team. We'll be live after the final. The venue will be on the Facebook page and across Joe and Hask's social media. It will be free to come. Please do attend. Don't forget as well, if you'd like to, there's a beautiful T-shirt being modelled by James this evening. You can buy T-shirts from oh, jeez, I can never get this right. No. shop.joe.co.uk if you want to get involved in the merch. It just remains for us to say that is it for this week. Thank you as always for watching and listening to the House of Rugby on Joe Together Guinness and our wonderful audience at Peter Cole's in Shabuka. Thank you to James. Thank you to Mike. It just remains for me to say, may the best team on Saturday win. Come on, England.
You've been watching the House of Rugby on Joe, together with Guinness. Drink responsibly. Visit drinkaware.co.uk for the facts.